NXT TakeOver The End has just passed, or the end of the beginning. They started calling it that right as the show began. Um, hey everyone, this is Neo Reality Entertainment. Like I said, NXT TakeOver The End just passed at the time of this production of this video. You might see it a little later tomorrow around on Thursday. So NXT TakeOver The End has passed, and let's get down to it. Andrade Cien, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong, Amales, I don't know if I pronounced that right, defeated Ty Dillinger in relatively an okay match. It was only 5 minutes and 22 seconds, so I wasn't expecting the best match to happen from them. I never heard of Andrade. I rarely follow the indie scene. I look things up. I did know like beforehand. I did hear about who Samoa Joe was, who Finn Balor was, who Shinsuke Nakamura was, who Austin Aries was, who AJ Styles was. So I didn't know who Andrade was. Like, I don't follow the indie scene that much, but I'm glad that they like let us talk about the indie scene like a lot for special occasions, unlike that other WWE show likes to do. Um, and I was also thinking to myself, if Sarge and Church were from Red vs. Blue commentating, Sarge would be supporting Ty Dillinger because he's wearing red, and Church would be supporting Andrade because he's wearing blue. And when Andrade won, I'm pretty sure Sarge would have lost it. I just couldn't help like that. I was thinking, oh god, this is Red vs. Blue. And the crowd, like as always in NXT shows, is really on fire. Like, they're the best thing of the show, except for the matches. They're the best thing of the show because they add an extra energy to it, like the kick in the pants it needs. And when you're hearing, 200 people at max make louder noise than what 10,000 people can in an arena on the main roster, that is sad. Really, really sad. You hear 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. And what I really did most appreciate is how when they make the obvious match where the guy's going to lose, at least try to look strong to make it look like, oh, maybe he'll actually win this match. And I kind of respect that in NXT because Ty Dillinger, I knew, yeah, he's gonna lose. In fact, he's lost every big match on Takeover, pretty much, or every return guy, or any match really in particular. And I was expecting, yeah, he's gonna lose. At least they try to make him look strong. They try to do some near falls for him, and try to make him look as strong as possible as he can against guys who will obviously beat him. But that's one thing I can really expect from NXT nowadays, like their ability to it's like maybe this guy's actually going to win. They're actually proving to be quite tough against this guy, and actually kind of show a challenge. Whereas on the other shows, they just A, dominate, B, dominate, and then ultimately lose somehow, or C, disqualification reasons. But not NXT. Clearly, NXT knows better. Because Triple H runs the show. So that's pretty much it for Andrade versus Ty Dillinger. Now let's get to what many consider to be the match that stole the show. The Revival, Scott Darson and Dash Wilder defeating American Alpha, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. Okay, this was possibly their best match together overall. Like the other match, it was great, but not as great as this match was. American Alpha and the Revival were really coming in, and they seemed more in sync with each other. They knew what to do after the next. They most likely discussed this for weeks and weeks and weeks, and bonded backstage to come together and see, hey, let's do this, let's do that, like perfectionists. And I expect nothing but the best out of NXT TakeOver specials. So yeah. And my favorite highlight has got to be in the match is when American Alpha is fighting the Revival, and then they start to, in sync, beat start to drop kick them, then clothesline them at the same time. And like I was like, that is so in sync. Like this team is so great. Like they remind me so much of the world's greatest tag team group, Shelton Benjamin and Charles Haas. And I can see why Kurt Angle would want to manage them when if he somehow returns to WWE because Vince McMahon's not really wanting to do that, and I could explain why. However, considering WWE's other track records with certain superstars whose names I will not mention in this video, is kind of hypocritical and very, very ironic. But the Revival and American Alpha, like, they had the best match of the night, I gotta say. Like, I was like, wow, the second match is already the best match of the night. Wow, Shinsuke Nakamura and Austin Aries, Asuka and Nia Jax, and Samoa Joe and Finn Balor really have their work cut out for them. So, the Revival shocked me. Like, they actually won the match and regained the tag team titles, and I was like, I wasn't expecting that. Normally, the formula is have a title run, last it for several months, then drop it, and then have a rematch, then drop it, then lose again, and then move to the main roster. Or just do something on NXT for a bit and then move to the main roster like Blake and Murphy have done, and they haven't moved to the main roster yet after losing the tag team titles. I was really expecting them to move to the tag team titles and fade to obscurity afterwards because Kevin Dunn hates them. So to see that happen was surprising. So wait, does that mean American Alpha is going to move to the main roster early? Because there were rumors going on that American Alpha might be part of the draft soon. And also, the Revival, like, when I saw them again, I was thinking, they would be good The Club members. They'd be good members, enforcers of AJ Styles. Like, two big bodyguards that could serve AJ Styles and help and try to help increase the odds of potentially getting the tag team gold on the main roster. I'm pretty sure Vince is never going to let them win the tag team titles for the sake of, well, look at the Ascension. So I was surprised that they won. I was like, my mouth was open wide, like, really? They did that? Like, they really did this? Like, I was expecting American Alpha to hold the titles at least until the fall. Like the rumors were saying, like, oh, they're going to most likely drop the belt in the fall, drop the tag team belts in the fall, where after that, then they were moved to the main roster in the fall after a rematch, and I was not expecting that. So this is the first time for NXT, and a shock value as well. This is shock value done right, unlike other shows like Family Guy try to do shock value for the sake of shock value. But this was surprising. So when that happened, after American Alpha lost, they were getting a standing ovation from the crowd because the crowd is awesome. Almost like ECW in the old days. Oh, who am I kidding? It's exactly like ECW in the old days, except without the death threats of diehard Rabbit fans in Philadelphia. So, well, except for one, but I'll get to that. I'll get to those in a minute. They're attacked by these two big guys that I've never seen before, and then I was like, "Who are these guys?" Like, I'm trying to wonder, who are these guys? I've never seen them before. And then some guy comes out, a manager, who's most likely going to be their manager, and I try to figure out, wait, who are these guys? Well, I looked online, there's barely anything about them, which is surprising, so that's a first. I was surprised that they appeared. I did not know who they were. And then I wondered, wait, who's that guy? I can't help but think I remember him somewhere. So I looked him up. They kept calling him Paul Ellinger. I'm pretty sure I pronounced his last name wrong. So I was looking out to see who he was, and I was like, oh my god, that's who it is. The manager of the Road Warriors, the manager of Arn Anderson, the manager of multiple wrestlers who are certified Hall of Famers. Well, most of them at least. Like, he was in the Hall of Fame just recently. And from what I had gathered, he retired back in 2002 as a manager, and now he's back to manage these two big destructive forces. Okay, so the American Alpha is going to feud with them, then move to the main roster, most likely, in the coming weeks as we approach the brand extension, most likely. So, I'm curious to know what's going to happen next with the Revival. Like, who are they going to fight next? Like, I don't recall that many tag teams in NXT right now. Like, not really that much, except for TM61. Though that could be because I haven't watched NXT the tape shows lately because they're always taped and therefore it's, and also it's because they're not in the golden age anymore where they were constantly delivering pay-per-view quality performances to a huge extent between from NXT Arrival all the way around the summer of Beast in the East. That's when I think the era ended, that golden age, or at least until NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, the golden age of NXT, where you kept seeing performance after performance after performance after performance getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden it just ended after that to just saying, oh, well, this is a build up, and then we get the awesome delivery. Like they do good matches from time to time and memorable moments, but to me, it wasn't the same extent as it was back in the golden age of NXT. Now, I have to give them credit. They managed to last a year for a golden age, and that's a long time for wrestling wise. Way well, it almost, I had hoped it would have lasted forever, but I knew that eventually once these guys get called to the main roster, that golden age was going to end. So, good things can't last forever, sadly. So, anyways, we get to Shinsuke Nakamura versus Austin Aries, and Shinsuke Nakamura defeats him, and this was the match that was going to be difficult. Like, the crowd's going to make it memorable. The crowd will make it memorable because because the crowd is, well, the war of the crowd. I think I said war. I meant war of the crowd. Likes to really deliver, and they also like, and Shinsuke was getting the Shinsuke's gonna kill you, Shinsuke's gonna kill you. And Austin Aries, like, from what I was gathering, he wasn't a heel, yet he acted like a heel. He called himself the greatest man alive, the greatest man that ever lived, and called himself the future NXT champion, which prompted Shinsuke Nakamura to come out and challenge him. And William Regal scheduled a match between them to determine who's the best, which surprised me that this wasn't a number one contendership match. I was really expecting this to be a number one contendership match. It started out slow to me. Like, I left the room to walk my dog during this, to walk my dog, which I'm not even going to get into. And I missed, like, a half of the match. But for when I got back, the match was getting really hot. Like I had just seen Austin Aries just do this suicide dive, I think it was, through the ropes and crash landed in Shinsuke, or Shinsuke dodged out of the way and he landed on the guardrail, and that's when the match was pretty much near the end. I watched half of the match and I had to walk the dog out. So, and the dog is really annoying. So, yeah. So Austin Aries loses to Shinsuke Nakamura. He obtains his second win at a TakeOver. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Since I didn't want to go long into that match because, well, like I said, I missed half of the match because certain reasons. Because of my dog. So, yeah. Too bad. I'll just have to rewatch it later on the WWE Network for $9.99. Now let's get to the first main event of the evening, Asuka versus Nia Jax. Now, I was initially nervous about this match, specifically because Nia Jax isn't as experienced, and her best match today was with Bayley. So I was wondering, can Asuka do this? Can Asuka really do this? I mean, not Asuka, Nia Jax can really do this? So, on Asuka, to me, hasn't had that big, epic moment, except with Bayley. She hasn't had that big, epic match that makes you say, match of the year. Whereas Bayley had two in 1 month. Within a span of 2 months. Or 3. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn and NXT Rival. I think that was it. There's been so many NXT TakeOvers, I just kind of forgot. So, this match, it was surprisingly short. It only lasted 9 minutes and 12 seconds, and I was expecting it to be longer. This is on the WWE Network, so they can go as long as they want. It doesn't really matter. This is their network. It doesn't cost them a thing. So I was surprised this match was relatively short, and that's really saying something. And I hope this is not becoming a trend. Please don't make it a trend. But I think I understand. Nia Jax isn't as experienced, and her weaknesses, to me, were kind of seen in NXT TakeOver London. How the match ended specifically, like she just kept every time when she was applied in the submission move that Bayley put her in. After the first time, she bent down and then she got caught again, and then that's where I thought, okay, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay, let's do the third time. She's obviously going to do something about it, try to reverse everything, try to regain momentum. No, she just does it again, and that always bugged me a bit. So, yeah, I was like a little concerned about that. So, I get why they had to shorten the match because Nia Jax is not as experienced yet. She's not seasoned enough. She's not ripe enough. She's still green. So, Asuka retains, and Nia Jax came out looking like a beast. Like, she managed to be dominant, managed to reverse some of Asuka's attacks, even managed to reverse the submission move that Bayley put her through when Asuka tried to do it. So clearly she's becoming that beast that adapts to her environment. So that really says something. That's a subtle moment in NXT. Like, they like to do subtle things in NXT that I can find, in my opinion, makes the matches even better, like the NXT title curse storyline they were secretly doing, which I'll get to when I talk about it eventually, hopefully, one day. So it took like what, five running kicks to beat Nia Jax, and Nia Jax let out this defining war that screamed, "You can't kill me!" And it took two more kicks, so five kicks in total, I think, is what did the job to defeat Nia Jax. And I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna say, "Oh well, she's related to Roman Reigns, therefore she sucks." So, and I'm like, she's not seasoned yet. Let's just give her more time. Like, she's so far been doing well, but she has to improve more. This is a developmental center. This is, well, at the end of the day, NXT is still, to WWE's eyes, a developmental program, even though Triple H says it's a alternative program to WWE. I'm pretty sure there's still a debate going on about that, but that's beside the point. So, Asuka defeats Nia Jax and retains the women's championship. I can't wait to see what Asuka going to do next. She's most likely going to feud with Bayley because they've been building that up they're going to build that up to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, from what I heard, where Bayley wants to redeem herself. So not going to happen. And WWE's kind of hesitant to bring Bayley to the main roster because they can't find a replacement in NXT developmental, because Bayley was so over with the fans, yet they're scared because, can we really find someone to replace her? Like, Asuka is going to take a while, and Bayley, well, it took her like 3 years to get as she did, and now they're going to have to do that in less time with Asuka. Like, she's currently have a 6-month undefeated streak, but once that streak ends and there's no added dimension to her character other than the smile of a predator, and when she eventually loses, well, what's the other dimension? That's my major concern. And like, they keep highlighting it like that's her like, yes, this is what she is. She's an undefeated creature, savage pretty much. Not a certain savage I will not talk about because I don't want to be threatened on email at yahoo.com. I couldn't help myself. Uh, so like, they're gonna have to find a way for Asuka to replace Bayley as the top woman in the NXT division, but I believe they can do it. But really, I see the concerns though. Let's get to the main event: Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor, in a match that relatively didn't really do anything for me other than it was the end of their feud. Like, I was hooked. Like, I understood the promo only lasting 2 minutes. Like, WWE managed to recapture. Like, NXT managed to get a 2-minute promo to explain weeks and weeks and months of build to what WWE can't do within 6 weeks. My God! That is sad. And even then, their promos still suck, but, like, NXT's promos have done a lot better. So, why? So Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, like it was just your standard cage match for me. It was okay. Like it was just like the revival and the American Alpha kind of stole the show, and the steel cage match it just didn't do much for me. It was just that of the finale pretty much, and like let's see, it doesn't quite match up to the first time ever bout between them in NXT TakeOver London and their bloody chaotic fight in NXT TakeOver Dallas, or the surprise factor in NXT House Show that happened weeks ago. So, what was to really add to this? Like, other than a heel wins the feud in the end, which main roster WWE doesn't want to do because that would scar the children. Think of the children. Even though those kids that play Call of Duty, Gears of War, Grand Theft Auto. Think of the violent children. Besides, they love John Cena. We have to make John Cena look strong. And Roman, well, he's John Cena's bitch to everybody else. At the end of the day, regarding Vince McMahon's opinion. So, Finn Balor loses to Samoa Joe. And that's pretty much it. Like that, it just says what it says. And I was but I will say this: before this match happened, we see William Regal cut an interview earlier, and we see a Bobby Roode sighting. Him entering his office and William Regal noticing it and saying, "Excuse me." So, like, I'm thinking, oh, he's coming. He's gonna come to the show. I predicted a taping, even though they really should have done this at the end of the show. In fact, there are 3 ways they could have ended the show after Samoa Joe walked out of the building. Like, they could have done, like, afterwards, Finn Balor gets up and gets a standing ovation from the audience because they know it's the end of an era regarding Finn Balor. He's been in NXT for nearly a year now. He's eventually going to leave. So I was expecting them to give him a standing ovation to say goodbye. And then the club appears. Like they do the too sweet gesture to signify welcome Finn Balor to the club. And Finn Balor does the too sweet gesture too, but doesn't give his allegiance yet. And we will know in the coming weeks as these vignettes happen. So that would have been one exciting way to do it. The second one, I was expecting when Samoa Joe was in the middle of the ring celebrating and looking at Finn Balor, I was expecting Hideo Itami, who's been rumored to come back soon, to come to the ring and do the GT go to sleep to Samoa Joe, and that would have made everything made everything perfect to happen. Or third, I would have expected Bobby Roode to show up and stare down with Samoa Joe. Those are 3 endings they should have done with the NXT Takeover the end. Like that's how they should have closed the show instead of Finn Balor being looked at. Like I was really expecting those 3 endings to happen, one of them to happen, and that didn't happen. So I should be mad that it didn't happen because I predicted this and therefore it would have been considered predictable. But I'm okay with predictability so long as it's good. But at the same time, I'm kind of impressed that they didn't do the surprise factor for returns or debuts. So I was expecting that to happen. So those were my 3 predictions for the ending of NXT The End to signify the end of one era at the beginning of another. So that's pretty much my thoughts on NXT TakeOver The End, or the end of the beginning. A lot of people were initially nervous about this show because they thought this would be the end of NXT as a whole, and it would just be back to developmental for them because the brand extension is happening. But Triple H has assured in his phone call interview he did a few days ago, or yesterday, at the time of this production of this video, that NXT is not going to end. It's still going to be the way it was, and NXT Brooklyn was announced again. So, yeah, expect that. So I can't wait what's going to happen later down the road. I'm betting Finn Balor's going to debut on the main roster sometime between now and August. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This was Near Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate. Stay tuned for more.